Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tradesman Experience. This is the podcast built by tradesmen for tradesmen. My name is Josh, and across the table is, of course, the talent. Thank God you made it, Mr. Nate Newton. Nate, how are you, sir?
Fuck me running, dude. So 5 years, almost, we're coming on year 5.
So today, as of this recording,
okay. This is the beginning of our
4
fifth
years
season.
ago today, our first episode launched.
This is the first time I've ever been late to a podcast.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're just really going downhill.
Dude. Could have sworn it was fucking Tuesday all day.
Thought you were going to get better.
Yeah, you even talked to me this morning about it, and it was, yeah. We're still in the fucking weeds, dude, and it's just, it's wearing its toll mentally, you know, and, so whatever, you call me, you're like, waiting on you, sweetheart, and I'm like at my house, which is at the opposite end of fucking Gardnerville,
country.
And got to get to Carson. Like, I'll be there in 30 minutes. I got on 88 and just sped the whole fucking way. But here I am.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Hey, glad I don't have to say thanks. Jesus. Well, we have a guest in the studio tonight, which is always one of my favorite things. 2 things. He likes bourbon, and he has a better beard than us. So that immediately just kind of elevates him. Like, I feel like I'm subordinate now, just sitting over here at my little thin beard. But no, tonight we have Joel. He runs a podcast locally, which we're going to dive into, called Bourbon and Ballistics. But Joel, man, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm super excited.
We're excited to have you for sure.
Well, I think maybe just a disclaimer for the listeners too. This is we're kind of just letting the hair down tonight. Like, this isn't really going to revolve too much around what we normally talk about. It's kind of like a breather episode, you know, and I'm excited to hear about your industry that you're in. I'm excited to hear about the whiskeys that you drink, and also the business that you run, and the obstacles that come with that. But
you said you had not had Breckenridge, which we discovered.
Blasphemy.
We discovered.
I'll figure it out real quick.
We discovered that all of our Breckenridge bottles in here are empty.
The
But,
worst kind of bottles.
The worst kind.
Yeah.
But you've had Basil Hayden?
I have.
Okay. It's one of my favorites, and just the little bit of research that I've done on you, I noticed that you always drink it neat, which is why I asked if you wanted a nice
Appreciate
ball.
that, yeah.
I didn't just bring you one. So,
Yeah.
but man, where do we start? Like, where do you want to start?
I don't know, man. I mean, Basil Hayden's a good start to,
Yeah.
to any conversation. You know, I again want to thank you guys for having me. I was just talking about before we started how I even came across the podcast, not being in the industry, but.
Oh, well, because Troy listens all the time, so shout out to Troy Phillips at Battleborn Wine.
Yep.
Troy?
And I was just
We have an episode coming up that is going to include you, my friend. We have an idea.
Yep. The thinking caps are on. Yeah. But yeah, I was down actually because this winter. So I started a brown water society for Douglas County.
Oh, cool.
So like I was telling Josh, what I do is I like things, and then I get obsessed with them, and then I just go all in. And so this is one of those things where when I started drinking whiskey years ago, I could barely stomach it, and then it was like slowly but surely it got like, it went from Coke and a little bit of Jack to like.
Oh, my mind looks somewhere completely different.
Not that, no.
Sorry,
no.
old pipeliner, dude.
No, we've been cool. Yeah.
They said, funny enough, that's how I got into whiskey.
So the mixture started getting lighter and lighter with the Coke, and then the next thing you know was on the rocks, and then from there it was just I really wanted to get into tasting and nosing the whiskeys and learning what the hell that all means, and the staves and rack houses and all the shit that comes with being in the industry. So
let me ask you this real quick. Sorry, I don't mean to jump in.
No, go ahead.
But after getting into like finer whiskeys, because I mean I hear people say all the time like, there's no whiskey palate, like it all tastes like fucking jet fuel. But once you go from like Breckenridge or Wyoming or Basil Hayden, and you just try to pour yourself a glass of Jack Daniels, it tastes artificial. It's like drinking Coca-Cola syrup, if you ask me.
Yeah, and if you're just getting, the Jack, it's. I mean, I'll be honest with you though. I was up at a concert in Tahoe over this last summer, and that's all they had was Jack, and I wasn't even that opposed to it. It was like, you know what? I mean, I think that having, it's not good. There's no doubt about that. It's like it's whiskey, and so, but being able to actually stomach it, I think, is a big deal and a big part of it. So
it's interesting that your kind of indoctrination to whiskey was through Jack and Coke. Mine began with the peanut butter whiskey.
Oh, right.
And which is I found to be similar to the wine venture, right? You start with sweet wine, and then you kind of go to semi-sweet, and then
the bag in a box,
right? And so my exposure and introduction to whiskey, because Screwball had just come out, and I had done the same thing. I had tasted, probably some bottom barrel whiskey before, and it was like, God, it just burns your face, and it's terrible. But when they come out with the flavored whiskey, the peanut butter, it's like, okay, that's palatable. And then you get to a point where it's like, oh God, that's too sweet. And I will tell you the best peanut butter whiskey that I've ever found is Shepherd's Peanutty.
Oh,
it's about half the caramel color of Screwball and about half the thickness. So it's not like melted Skittles.
That might make more sense.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when Fireball came out. Matt and I were still in Canada, and they had glycol in it at that point. Like,
I wonder how many people just dry heaved when you said Fireball.
I hated those days. So
Every
bad.
college girl that listens to this, obviously.
But there was a competitor that came out pretty probably 5 years later, and it was called Sinfire. Same thing, half the color, more whiskey. And it tastes like cinnamon sticks, not cinnamon big red gums.
Butthole.
Yeah, cinnamon duty. Yeah.
Good God. Yeah.
But so going from the peanut butter whiskey, and then the Rebel Stoke makes a roasted pecan, which I actually still like. I can barely drink the peanut butter whiskey anymore. It's just too sweet. But the Rebel Stoke roasted pecan, I enjoy that occasionally.
Can I ask you this? Do you like it better at room temp? Those like the peanut butter whiskey or the pecan stuff, better at room temperature or better frozen?
Cold.
Dude,
So
to me,
cold.
that fucking mucusy texture of
That's
the
a
super
terrible
sugary
descriptive
stuff,
word.
dude. It's what it seems like.
Kinda, right.
It's like
Not wrong.
that spit you get right before you throw up. I feel like it's the same consistency.
Really
as that.
selling it. you know that pre-vomit saliva?
Yeah.
It's like that, but better.
Before it all goes away. Yeah.
Good God. I'm about to go get a bottle. Let me hit pause.
Yeah, why didn't we start with that?
Jesus. Work our way down the ladder. And I'm trying to think, because I will tell you, I did not jump right into like anything like Jack or Crown Royal or anything, mainly because I'm friends with him. And he had already developed a palate for bourbon. So he was kind enough to introduce me to like Basil Hayden and Breckenridge, where you get to really enjoy a good bourbon. And Nate and I have this thing, like we love good bourbons under $100 a bottle. And that's kind of like our metric.
Yeah, well, because there's a fucking palate that goes along with something over $100 a bottle, and I'm not a sommelier, so it's gonna do nothing.
That's the word I was trying to think
That's
of
what
earlier.
Troy is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no fucking point. It's being wasted on me at that point, and I'm just pissing away money. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I started drinking because I worked in a machine shop when I was 20 years old, and it was my buddy Keith Seeley. His dad was the guy that ran the machine shop. His dad fucking lived off of wild turkey in the 70s, and he gave me this flask that had the wild turkey logo on it. And I was like, this is what it means to be a man. And so I started drinking 101 when I was 20, and and the worst part is, this isn't bragging, but I could put down a bottle of 101 in a night by myself and be fine the next morning. And that's that's because it sets you up for a lot of dumb shit you're going to fucking do down the line, right? And, but to start with that absolute rubbing alcohol that is 101 and work your way into nicer stuff, it's like, if you can stomach 101, and then you can start to refine your palate a little bit. We were at a buddy's house, Larry McIntosh, that used to work for Thomas. I was like, hey man, you got any whiskey? We were over at his house. He's like, yeah, dude, I hate whiskey. Here, take it all. And he gave me some of the stuff from the Bentley distillery.
Oh yeah.
And it was a little bit more aged. And he was like, oh, this one, he's like, I think it's a bourbon. He hands it to me, and I took a little swill of it. I was like, dude, that's kind of weird. It tastes like a scotch. And he's like, how the fuck do you know that? And And I'm like, well, years of being a fucking idiot. That's how I know that.
Yeah. Where did you go from Jack and Coke to less Coke to Jack? Like, how did you decide that, okay, now I can start to explore different options here?
I didn't go very far. I mean, so they came out with that Jack Honey, and I was like, okay, I can drink this without anything, you know? And then but then to this day, I can't stomach that stuff anymore. It's like it got me to where I needed to be, but then it was like, thank God I got over it, because it was, I mean, that's just sugar. I mean, I don't know, man. It was awful. The way it made me, the hangovers were just atrocious, So anyways, so it was a really long process, Crown Royal and stuff like that, like the big bulk 175s of stuff to kind of get me going. But yeah, then you start hanging out with people that actually, know things and drink good stuff, and you kind of start developing, or you get the opportunity to try new things. And it's like, I wouldn't necessarily have bought that bottle, but I'm glad I got to try it, so I know not to, And so I'm by no means, good at nosing notes, or anything on the palate. I mean, that's not what I do. I just, I find something I like it, and then I'll stick with it, and I'll, try to find something that's,
that's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's good.
Would you say that when you drink with people that because when I drink whiskey with Troy from Battleborn Wine, we did one of his whiskey classes, and it's like he tells you that, like, he'll nose it a couple times, and he tells you all the scents that are in there. Yeah. And it's not until he says it that I can smell it. And I don't know if that's some psychosomatic shit or if I'm really actually smelling the stuff at this point, But I guess until you know what's in there, it's kind of hard for you to differentiate all that.
Like, they have kits that you can go out, and they're nosing kits, and you can learn what the different, the oaks and the cherries and the whatever else you'd find in a lot of the barrels. And so you could go train yourself, but at the same time, I think you're 100% right with that. Is you could taste something 100 times and until somebody says vanilla, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, there it is, right?
That's what
the only exception, I promised you, this is the weirdest thing, and I don't want to, because it might be psychosomatic, but this what the hell was it now? I just had it in my head and I forgot about it. But it has notes of pear, right? And I shit you not, I've never had a whiskey that I was like, I nosed it and I was like, dude, I didn't even read it yet. And I was like, pear. And I was like, you're growing up, you're a big boy now. You're checking this out, and you actually. But that's the only thing I could nose was the pear. But it tastes. I mean, it was super fruity, but not like a peanut butter. It wasn't anything like that. But it's like, I don't know. It's amazing.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because for me it's pepper.
Yeah.
The black pepper hints, I can always pick those up for some reason.
Interesting.
Pear, I'd never be able to find it in a fucking million years.
Yeah, so maybe one of these days we'll get together and you guys, because I save it because it's just interesting enough that I like it, but it's obviously it's a lower proof. I think it's like running at like a 90. I wish I could remember what the hell I'm talking about right now, but a 93, and it's mellow. It's easy to drink, and it's fun. But like I said, having the fruit is weird, because it's the first time and only time I've ever had that drinking whiskey before.
What first do you smell in Jack Daniels?
Vomit. Bad decisions.
Somebody else's dick in my glass. I don't know. Dude, that's pretty fruity.
Oh god. When you guys were talking, I didn't want to forget about talking about this. But you guys were talking about the dick measuring contest with them. Dude, it was, you're either holding the tape or you're holding the dick. And then, dude, in my office today, dude, I fucking lost it. Man, that was so good. And I never thought about it, but it's exactly, that is so true, man. So anyway, while we're talking about dicks and stuff.
That was, what was that? Was that the Hold My Beer episode with Velada? When I was like, you know what the problem with the dick measuring contest is? You're either holding the tape or holding the dick.
That killed me, man. That was so funny. And like I said, I'm still, really new to listen to you guys, because I heard of you guys through Troy. And so I was there trying to poach him for my podcast. And he's like, go check out the Tradesman Experience. And then now here I am. Like I said, you guys have absolutely nailed it. The format, the guests, it's phenomenal. So much fun.
We really appreciate that. And that was something I kind of want to talk to, at some point about podcasting, and what that, fuck, dude, and this is going to be a pot calling the kettle black, but, COVID hit, everybody had a lot of time at home, people started podcasting, and dude, there's been like some podcasts that Josh has been on, there's been some podcasts that I've listened to, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? And it's painful to listen to, and you want to support your friends. And I'm like, dude, I had to shut the fucking thing halfway off, dude. I couldn't listen to it anymore.
Yeah, it's tough.
And dude, I'm sure there's people that say that about our podcast too, but trying to figure out what it takes to run one of these things. I mean, we don't have the biggest following, but we have a loyal fucking following. I mean,
right,
people
we do.
tune in on. I get messages on Monday morning like, "Dude, you're an idiot for this," or "You fucking nailed it on this," you know. But they talk to us like they're your friends, you know, and that's great because I fucking love that aspect of it. But just the simple thing of like, because there's so many people that want to start up podcasts, and it's like, we just jumped in feet first. You know, Josh put up all the equipment and did all the stuff, and we just jumped in, and we wing it every week in here, right? I think people get so caught up in trying to impress everybody and just put out viral content that they lose why they're fucking in here doing this, right? And they're just doing it just because podcasting is fucking cool. I mean, whatever. Go ahead and try it, and you're going to get your fucking ass handed to you. But I really do think that having a genuine purpose when you show up to do this is so fucking huge. And I think that your idea of incorporating your business with the whiskey and like really pushing the finer point of whiskey, I think that's such a grand fucking idea. And I really appreciate that. And you're not in there just fucking rambling, right?
No, right. I try not to. I mean, I'm really good at it. I was telling Josh that before we started. I do love to talk. And so this has been really helpful for me, you know, having somebody else sitting across from me that they're supposed to be doing the talking, and I'm just doing, you know, essentially just doing the prompting to get them to tell their story. Because, I mean, you guys know just as well as anybody that, you know, getting somebody in the booth or, you know, for me in my kitchen, you know, whatever.
Did you tell them the story?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, they're there. And so you need to make the most of their time because it's valuable, you know, and then on the back end of that, the amount of effort you're going to put into creating this content for hopefully somebody to listen to. And if they don't, and that's the point too. I mean, it would be really cool to have, you know, hundreds or thousands of people listening to it because people would love to hear the stories of the people I have on the show, right? So that's what I want to do for them is give them that opportunity. But worst case scenario, me and the buddies just, you know, opening up bottles and just shooting the shit on record, you know, it's like there's nothing wrong with that.
Dude, and there's something completely different about the conversations that you have on the mics. You know, like our Hold My Beer episodes, like that one with Nick Coleman when we were we're in St.
No, were we in St. George?
St. George, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
we all
Nick's
we all
place.
went vacation over there.
Yeah, and we were sitting in an Airbnb just getting fucking
dude.
I was annoyed with myself after listening to that one. I was like,
You know the
I
mistake
shouldn't
I
get
made.
that drunk.
The mistake I made in recording that was I should have recorded the hour
Prior.
prior to the conversation.
We were
because-
fucking tuned up by the
Oh
time we
man,
started
it was
it. Yeah.
because
That
it was
does make
gold.
for bad shows.
Yeah.
I've learned that the hard. I was telling a story about my second episode, but we went into it, recorded the whole thing, killed that whole bottle almost, and then the second time was like I was belligerent. I was obnoxious. You know, my sound volumes were well out of range, and then my guests were like a mile and a half away from the microphone. You could barely hear them, and I'm just like blah, 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 and you know it was awful. But it was the first one was so I'm so pissed because the first one was so good, and there were so many cool points. And
Oh,
I'm
God,
sitting
we
there
can't say that.
I'm trying to make the thing happen again. You know,
Yeah.
then it just sounds forced, but then I'm drunk too, so it's like it's not forceful at all.
But I mean, I'll tell you right now that that's necessary for this shit, though. Because like, if you try and find some fucking guru to tell you how to do this stuff, this is the format to fucking do the greatest podcast ever. We're not trying to be the greatest fucking podcast ever. We're trying to deliver something fucking useful, right? But also, you got to get in there. You got to fuck shit up, dude. And that we preach that within this podcast all the time. That even if it's wrong, go do it. You know, and then go, dude. Listening to yourself for the first 10 episodes, it's like, dude, do I fucking sound like that?
I know.
You know?
I know. I'm sorry for you guys. I know.
Yeah.
Figure it out, right?
It's very humbling
yeah.
when you are first of all when you put yourself on a global stage, right? Once you launch a podcast, everybody in the world has access to you, whether they are accessing you or not, right? But everyone immediately has access to you, and to be in that humble state where you go back and you realize that it's out there forever. Those conversations are locked in time, and then again you listen to how you say things. You listen to how you articulate. You listen to how you respond.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very humbling.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process of discovering that, I think it makes you so much better.
Right.
And one of the things that I do for sales training and cold calling is I encourage my clients to video record themselves on what they would say and how to get on the schedule, the questions they would ask, the conversation they would have, and then watch it. And I said, not a requirement, but if you choose to, send that to me, and we can also have a conversation about it.
Oh, that's cool.
And I've had a few clients that will do that. They will send me these video clips of just, they're driving in their truck, right? And they got their phone, and they're just, hey, this is Josh with ABC Heating and Cooling. And they'll go through this whole, like, just conversation initiator, right? Like, what are you going to say when you get there? What questions are you going to ask? And then, we'll go back and forth, and it makes them so much better. So
Thank you.
If you're not podcasting or you're not in a position to hear yourself or watch yourself, it's very, very humbling to do that.
I have a so this we don't need to talk about it, but I went back to school to go get my BAS in organization and project management. And so for this semester, I'm doing a marketing class. It's one of the requirements for the program. And so the very first week this week in the marketing class tells me to do a quick introduction, hitting these 3 key points plus a little fluff in there for whatever, right? And it's graded on that. So the class is all like, 16-year-olds, right? Because they're all doing the Jumpstart program, so they're all well ahead of me. And so all of a sudden I get clammy, like I get more nervous, going and talking to these 16. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you, dude? But, it's hard because I could talk about me forever, right? I have all the cool stories. I got all the one-ups. But coming on this, having a podcast is really, you get that little bit of humility and you're able to kind of take that step back and go, it's not about me. Because like you were saying, nobody wants to sit there and listen to me talk for an hour and a half. They would not.
Why do you think we brought you here?
but you get the dynamic, that you guys have, and it's like all of a sudden, like that, what would not necessarily work as a singular, the singular for you guys, and all of a sudden you guys have the dynamic to bring it all together.
It creates banter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of getting nervous in front of a bunch of 16-year-olds, I started coaching football last year in high school.
Thank God I thought you were going to be arrested for something.
Pop that.
That's why I'm not allowed near Chuck E. Cheese anymore. But all right. Dude, getting out on that football field. This is the first time I'd step foot on a football field in 20 years, and I see all these kids staring at me with this eager, like, "Hey, that's the guy. That's our coach now." And I'm like, who fucking told you that? Like, but to get around that younger generation and you feel like you're supposed to show them that that you have the world figured out.
Right.
You got this example to set. I'm in my 30s. I'm a fucking adult.
You might be shocked that he's only in his 30s.
No, I figured it. Yeah,
I'm 30.
Just getting started.
I'm 36 now, I think.
Addie learned that today, and he was like, he thought Matt and I were lying to him.
Addie.
You're Addie.
Addison?
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't know I was in my 30s?
No. He's like, wait, he's 30. What?
Yeah. I look like I'm fucking 40 and I sleep like I'm 50, so.
Yeah.
But
not all of us can age well.
Right.
Yeah. You may be older, but I look older.
And that's how to start off my presentation too. I'm like, I'm 42 and I'm still in school, and just like when I got my associates back in 18, and it was like, it was bad then, but I was, now I'm way old, even older, and now I have to go do it again. But anyways, it's, yeah. So like I said, it just, it's funny to me that, that has created more of a fear for me than actually getting in with somebody I have no idea who they are, and then having, like you're saying, having the possibility that at some point thousands of people, maybe more, could be listening to the conversation that we're having. It's pretty wild to think.
So let's say you're belly up at a bar. Are you the type to just like chop it up with whoever?
I'm getting there. I try. I reach a point where I should not, and it's there's no no good reason for me to be talking to anybody.
Right.
Like go to Genoa Bar or something like that, and it's like I'm really cool for a little bit, and then it's like I need to go home.
Yeah. Hey, at least you have that switch. I
Right.
fucking don't have that sometimes. So,
Yeah, it's
but I mean,
Yeah.
it's like anytime we all, me, Matt, and Josh go out, and it's like, dude, we'll talk to anybody about anything, and literally sit there and just talk shit and have fun with it. And I think that's why we've done well at this podcast, because it's nothing is ever that fucking serious,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think once people start taking things too seriously, and that's, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to get a bunch of eye rolls over this, but I think that's why Joe Rogan has done so well, is because he does whatever the fuck he wants.
Dude,
You
no
know-
format just goes. That's
Yeah.
100%.
Well, here's what. So Joe Rogan's format, and I think this is what makes him so great, is he's a conversationalist. He's not an interviewer.
Right.
He's a conversationalist he has interview skills. And I think I was talking to him the other day, and I've learned that I'm not a good conversationalist.
Unless we put a couple drinks in you, dude, and then you're the life of the fucking
Then
party.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I get a couple drinks, but stone dry.
Dude, I want to hit you half the time.
I know.
I'm like,
I
oh, you
know.
want to talk about business and
I know.
leadership again?
I know. I'm a decent interviewer, terrible conversationalist, and unless I get some bourbon in me, then I'm okay. But
Whiskey helps, man.
it does, yeah.
It's called social lubricant.
That's it, too.
But I think that is really the key, is being able to be a good conversationalist, and and when you put that in podcast format, people like it.
Well, but that's derived from genuine curiosity, right? Like being a conversationalist is just genuine curiosity. Like, what do you think? And why do you think that? And it's not coming from a place of, oh, I have this counter argument to fucking shut you up, or I'm going to sit here and suck your dick and tell you how fucking cool you are. It's genuine curiosity. And I've come to notice that about myself when I'm sober, is that like people do shit. I'm like, why the fuck are you doing it like that? Like, tell me what you're going through. And then if I get drunk, I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. Like, who the fuck do you think you are? That's why I get beat up so much.
What? How many episodes do you have out now, Joel?
So I did a total of 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I got 8.
So let's shine the light on you a little bit more. Tell us about the podcast, the name, why you have it, and really kind of what you talk about.
Okay. The long and short of it is it started with my business partner. We own a Target company, still Target company.
What's the name of it?
It's First Line Ballistics.
First Line?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we're out of Minden, out in Johnson Lane. But what happened when we started this, a lot of cool things happened when we started the company. So we did all of our R&D, our initial soft launch in 2019, and then went to launch in 2020, and then everything, 2020 happened, right? So it was like the perfect time to launch a new company, new business, and so
Dude, it sounds like that for Targets, though.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's at
ex-
home,
ex-
right?
Except for the fact that ammo prices went through the roof, so nobody was out there practicing.
Yeah.
They were all just like, we're hunkering down. We got 7 billion rounds, and whatever,
Yeah.
all the different
Civil War II.
yeah.
was
That's
in
all
conversation.
anybody was doing,
Yeah.
right? So for us to go, hey, you just spend a couple $100 on a Target, they're like, absolutely kissed my ass. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll get back to you when all this shit blows over, right? Well, then the shit didn't really blow over that quickly. And so we were sitting there trying to, just suffice. And luckily we had Russ down at Nevada Cerakote, and he
Russ
kinda,
is the shit.
he is the
dude.
shit. And he pretty much carried us through COVID, which was, he's at a point where he didn't really need us. He could have got pretty much anybody, but, he was cool enough. He's like, I'll keep stocking your stuff. And he kept selling it, which was bitching, it's like, well, it's working, and people were liking it. So,
Yeah. I mean, one of those great things about Russ is that he is a small town, small business supporter. And this dude's on the cover of fucking some of the best weapons magazines that are out there. Dude, I have some of these Cerakoted weapons from him that are, he Cerakoted it all one color and used fucking lasers to change the pigment in the Cerakote and put these crazy patterns in there. So, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking
he's
about.
the
Russ,
shit,
dude.
right?
He's one of the coolest fucking
and he's a
dudes.
great dude too.
Yeah.
And his, and he's so he carried us through COVID, which was bitching, and then we were kind of at a certain point and was like, well, we probably reach as many people with him as to keep us sustained. It was like we got to probably kind of branch out here, and went and talked to a couple other shops and started stocking up here in Carson, and then the business was growing, but it's not at a rate that's ever going to make anything cool happen, right? So the problem with with the problem with COVID, and now we're dealing with inflation and stuff like that. So our steel prices have almost doubled since we started the project. Like and to put things in perspective, when we first came into the industry with these targets, we were feeling like assholes with like a 20%, 20% markup, and we were selling these things for under $400. And now we can't even get the material for less than like $5, right? Because they're not just, and the thing is, and you'll have to go check them out to make it make sense, because they're not just, they're modular steel targets that fit into essentially a little 24-inch rifle bag. And so you can just pop on the side-by-side, and you got a full range with you in your bed, right? Or, whatever, in your seat. And so the market should be huge, because we could reach the gun people and the side-by-side industry, and a lot of that stuff goes hand in hand. But we are not able to because of marketing issues. So anyways, back to your original question, that's kind of what happened with the podcast. I was like, I'm going to try to use different platform, just like kind of a subsidiary, or figure out another way, another leg to stand on here, and get into, just having people come on that have shot our targets before, own the targets, kind of roll that into the conversation at some point. It was always just kind of a key point I wanted to hit. And so, that's where we started with it, and it turned into something way cooler than I thought it was going to be. We ended up getting done with sitting there for almost 2 hours, and it's like, it's been 2 hours. That was cool, and now I got to nobody wants a 2-hour podcast, so you kind of get to cut out some of the fluff, but yeah, that's the basis of it.
Bourbon and ballistics.
Yeah.
Josh and I sit down to do these episodes when it's just him and I, and Josh will look over, and I just start getting this glazed over look on my face. I have severe ADHD, so it's like, all right, we need to start wrapping this up. We get an hour out of him, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah. Which is funny now. We don't even have to time it anymore, and we know.
Yeah.
Like, it's when you do something for so long and you have so many reps in, but.
Well, we've you were talking earlier about the dynamic, and the dynamic it's been developed. You go back and listen to like the first couple episodes, and they're clunky, and they're not very, like there's no flow state to them. And now it's just like we come in, you're like, all right, let's fucking do this thing and bang it out real quick. But with being within the industry that you're in, what's kind of your target demographic that you're pitching to? Is it the gun enthusiasts that you just know that the bourbon comes with it? Or is it, are you trying to reach like people that aren't even really avid shooters, and you're trying to get them into practicing on steel?
It's one of those things where if you've only shot paper, or you've only blown up like a wash machine or whatever, like that you're going to leave out in the sticks. Once you get that instant gratification of shooting steel, I'd love reaching people that haven't shot it before. But unfortunately, with our price point, we're kind of limited on that. Like, it's going to be people that typically have more money. Like, they're going to be retired. Like a lot of people that moved up from, Southern California or whatever, that have the money. And that's kind of what's been keeping us afloat in the valley. We ended up getting into a shop down in Thousand Oaks, Praxis, and they obviously have a little bit more money than us up here. And so they also do pretty well. So it's tough to say. Really, I love getting new people, but I also love showing people that have already shot steel, like how much different ours is, because it's fully rebuildable. If a part gets damaged, if you're using it within the proper parameters, and that thing gets damaged, you're just replacing a part, not the entire target. And so it's an investment. It's a big upfront cost, but it's something that you don't have to go too deep in if you were to screw something up to fix it. And so that's kind of our pole in our pitch. Is it's everything, almost all the components of the target are all AR 500. So we've only had a couple instances where somebody went a little rogue, and the bottom pole that goes into the stand is not armor plated. And so they shot through the mild steel. But anyways,
learn how to fucking shoot then. I don't know.
Right. And that's the bitch of it too. It's like, they were blaming, it was the first time we've ever had a negative review. And I was like, it killed me, because I'm like, I know these things are cool, man. I know they're cool. And you
shot
all
the
that
stick,
money.
it goes on you, idiot.
So it's not like a bunch of work, but just developing a bottom plated pole for this guy. It's like, now you can shoot the entire fucking thing if you want. Whatever, dude. Go.
Now you can be bad and still be okay.
Yeah. I'm like, go find an instructor. The shop you bought it from, maybe. I don't know. Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, like back in 2013, I was doing, so I mean, I had acquired my CCW, so I was doing CCW training almost every week just on my own. And then I had gotten into a couple of TAC training classes, and a couple of buddies and myself were doing 3-gun competitions. I had AR 500 plates that we knocked everything out of it to the point where they just splintered apart and fucking fell apart. That's how much we shot, you know, and it was religious. It was every weekend we went out full gear. Fucking ran CQB shit. We did, you know, the CCW drills were the funnest. I always love those because it's all quick draw shit and you feel all fucking cool because of it.
Super tactical.
Yeah. And it's just dumb. Like, it really doesn't translate to the real world.
Sure.
You know, of course, there's a fast twist muscle fiber, but to knock enough carbon out of the steel to where it's fucking useless. It stopped ringing. Yeah. It was like a dud. When It was like that.
It's neat because. So we had this when we were doing R&D. We got invited to go up into the hills of Mound House up in the VC area with somebody. Unfortunately, it pisses me off because we can't talk about it, like who it was. But these guys are a big international outfit, right? And we just happened to know a guy who knew a guy, and he's like, "Dude, we're gonna have these guys at the range." And I was like, "Cool, bring your shit up there." We brought our shit up there, and they pull up in a box van or in a box trailer, and it's like they roll up the door, and it's like shelves of ammo and already loaded magazines and stuff like that and all sorts of shit and guns and stuff in the back, and you know, and they sat there and they run our targets all day, and I might even be underestimating, you know, I don't know, I want to say like 2,000 3,000 rounds in a like hour on these. I mean, so like the steel was not getting cold, you know, so it was bound to warp. You know, there was definitely, you know, it was bound to, you know, have some deformation, and it did not, you know, we came out of there and it was like, well, that was good R&D, and I was like, can we use the footage? And they're like, absolutely fucking not, because that would be such a good pitch, you know,
right.
like, you know, because I know when you go into like Sportsman's or Shields or whatever, and they got the little plates. It's cool. I mean, and it's great for most people. Like, it's only $50 or whatever, right? But this thing is not that. And then that's the hardest point for, you know, the hardest point for me to convey is like, I'm not trying to sell you just a $50 piece of fucking steel. You know, it's a unit, it's a kit that breaks apart and goes into a bag. You know, and so if I get people with their eyes on it, that's when things start to kind of happen. It's like, well, that was pretty fucking cool, you know, but it's like, how do you reach those people, right? That's the big thing. And when you're being, you know, blacklisted or shadow banned by social media, it gets a little tougher.
Yeah. Well, and because I mean, I've, you know, like, especially a guy like Russ, who all he does is paint the weapons, and you know, he does cool fancy shit with them, and I mean, he even experiences all the shadow banning and you know, the Zuck effect, if you will.
It's a tough industry, man.
Yeah. And I mean, Twitter, you can only do so much there. I mean, I don't know many people on Twitter, you know, and I know that's a lot more free, but you want the eyeballs of the high traffic sites, and, you know, they see a gun and.
And that's why, I mean, most people, I mean, you know, it sucks because as much as I would love to just have Facebook fuck right off, you can't, because, you know, like my aunt, my uncle are still on it. They're never going to leave it. And it's like, I still got to have this stupid platform where I can't do shit.
Right.
You know, I can't even, you know, your memes are fact checked and stuff like that. Right. It gets kind of stupid because I don't want to deal with it anymore. But, you know, that's where the people still are, you know. And then we were talking about Twitter or TikTok. Fucking TikTok. And the sucky thing about that is I never ever thought I would use TikTok, right? I was like hell bent on not doing TikTok.
The only one here that's still holding out.
But for the company, I was like, you know what? I'm taking one for the team.
That's,
you know?
And that's what I did with the company. I didn't want someone taking.
I hear a lot of excuses coming from over there.
TikTok.
And here we go.
Go fist yourself. Why did you get into the business of targets?
It just pretty much came with a bad experience of one we bought from Sportsman's. You know, it's like my partner. And the way it works is it was his brainchild. He developed the product, and, you know, he's a way better welder than I am, and so it's his baby.
Goddamn welder
Welders,
affiliated.
Still a welding podcast.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah. So, I mean, I bought a welding helmet, but
I'm gonna go swallow my axe. Hang on.
but he's way better at it than I am. So he does all the hard work, and then I just basically just grind the welds and do the painting, right? And then, but that's where that's the, I mean, in my opinion, that's the easy part. We could buy all the material, build the shit, have it sit in the garage, but it's getting it out there and trying to sell the stuff. So going and knocking on doors.
Marketing, right? Marketing is everything. And especially if you're selling a product that, I mean, you can ship these things nationwide, right?
You can, yep.
So, I mean, but that's also where you look at, I fucking swear to God, every other ad that I get on Instagram is all about some sort of online marketing Ponzi scheme that's going on. So
absolutely.
The market's so saturated with all these fucks that think they're supposed to be able to make $1,000 a week off of you. And it's like, you don't even generate that much fucking revenue because you're operating on a shadow ban system. That's not going to put, you're like, well, I put the ads out. I'm sorry I couldn't sell your shitty product. And it's like, it didn't reach anybody because literally the platform banned it all. So, I mean, it's such a difficult place to be in. And then what are you going to do? Go to, what's that one that fucking Trump put out? Whatever his social media site was or
Truth
whatever.
Social.
Truth Social, yeah. It's a bunch of fuzz anyway.
People, yeah. It sucks because you're trying to find the avenues or the beat the algorithm, right? And it's always just seemingly working against you. Where, like, to your point of doing the ads, right? We did that in the beginning, and it was solid. I mean, we'd get 15 to 2,000 impressions from these things, and now it goes. The little banner pops up and it's like, you could be reaching 4 people if you pay $15 a day. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense, And so that's just where we're at with the algorithm. So that was the basis of the podcast, and it's transitioned more. And we're trying to figure out. Most of the people I've had on the show so far have been self-employed business owners and figuring out the dynamics of what works for them to make successful businesses and stuff. So it's been cool. I really enjoyed it. And if nobody listens to it, like I said, it's just cool to sit with some buddies and drink some whiskey.
And I think when you do it with, I mean, there's an ulterior motive, but if that's not the highlight of it, that makes it so much more genuine. It makes it so much more enjoyable. I mean, as much as I talk shit on Josh, I fucking love coming in here and doing this every week with him.
And you guys have had some pretty interesting and super fun people on here. I mean, from what I've gotten, like I said, I'm still very new, but yeah, it's been neat to listen to. And I feel like not even being in the trades, it's like I could use that in my job, whatever.
You know what? You guys are using welding,
right?
And steel.
Well, I'm not. I'm using paint. Is there any painters in here yet?
Do you guys just do primer coatings on those?
Yes. Yeah. We have. We were gonna do powder coating, but it's just like, fuck it. You're gonna shoot it,
dude.
man.
No fucking point. No fucking point.
Yeah, fuck it.
No, well, because the reason why when I paint my steel targets, because you can walk out. So for one, primer splatters really well as opposed to like a gloss paint. But also I can walk out, touch it up, especially in the middle of summer. By the time I get back to the range line, it's dry and it's ready to go again, right?
Yep.
Because I mean, there was that company, Rubber Dummies, where it's just compressed tires pretty much, and then you would just walk out and you had your hit markers, and you could just hit them with primer, walk back, and by the time you got back, you could shoot them again. Great for CCW training. Because, I mean, you're standing at 21 feet, 7 yards. That's your quote-unquote legal lethal distance, whatever the fuck that means. But it's like, dude, if that dude's coming at me from 50 yards across a parking lot, I'm going to shoot him at 25.
Right? So, as far as you can get him,
Right. Yeah. But
you have what's your favorite style of shooting, and what's your favorite target that you guys have to do that?
The cool thing about these is what I really like to do is we have our silhouette is probably my favorite just because it's most relatable, I think, to shooting. I think we do an IPSC, and we also have an IPDA version and stuff like that. So if you were doing a comp shooting, you could still utilize those shapes and sizes. But for me, it's having, coming on and off targets is probably one of my favorites because the transitionary stuff, I think, builds, like you're talking about, the muscle memory and stuff like that. And, coming from holster, drawing, especially in the winters, is so much more difficult to pull all the shit that you're wearing, off of your holster or whatever. And that makes it more interesting. And
I mean, like just trying to pull 6 inches of Carhartt off to get to 2 inches of Pecker. Now you're trying to get to a gun. Now your life's on the line.
That, yeah. And it's tough.
That's me in a pair of boxers. I don't understand. I gotta try not to piss on my ball bag every time.
It's like a little ramp for it. The pish lose. That's what we're calling it.
I have to stand directly over the bowl. It's terrible.
Just do a handstand right over the top of it.
Yeah, best you can. Get in there.
Yeah, I look like I'm saddled a horse, but it's the toilet. It's not.
Pants are back there.
Yeah, I just sit on it reverse. Well, who am I kidding?
Sure, that bidet is going to be real awkward when you turn it on, though.
It's terrible when it turns on before I get off of it. It's terrible. Yeah. Do you do much long range shooting?
No, I do not. I mean, our targets are not. That's not the point of them. It's more tactical,
Okay,
like
cool.
close range stuff.
No,
so
that's good.
transitionary from pistol to rifle and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Do you guys do any like the weird, like the fancy shit, like the flippers and the Dallas Star or Texas Stars and shit?
everybody
like that?
asks for them, but I'm like, you guys would not want to pay the fucking price, and until you guys front them, and that's my business partner. It's the same way. It's like we're looking at a $1,200-$1,300 piece when you get Texas Star. I mean, anybody that go to Carson Guns and they have one that's been sitting there since I got in this business in 2018, started talking about it, and it hasn't moved. But they're asking $1,250 for it or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, the guy that built those things built that shit back in like 2016 or something like that. So anyways, I mean, you're no stranger to steel costs, but yeah, that's the hardest part is people want cool shit, but they definitely don't want to pay for
They
cool
want to pay
shit.
for it.
Yeah.
But you can also go shoot a 3-gun match and play with one of those stars. And honestly, dude, I mean, you go do it once and it's kind of out of your system,
Yeah.
Especially you go do it on a 3-gun course where you're fucking timed and you're competing, and you realize that you can't shoot for shit because it's a moving target, and then people are like, "Oh, I definitely don't want one of those in my house.
yeah.
I don't need that kind of embarrassment on the weekends."
All your buddies there, yeah.
Yeah.
People want the cool stuff, and we have constant requests for, and we have a plate rack that we've been developing for years. It's just kind of like waiting for somebody to go, I'll put a prepayment on one, you develop it, I'll be the guinea pig, you guys fix whatever, and that's kind of what we're looking for, right? Is just get the R&D, but like without the upfront cost, and because we just can't.
You waiting for McCulloch to come to you and
Maybe, dude, trying something,
Yeah.
And so we've developed a couple different things that'd be really fun, but it's all modular too. So the cool thing about the system is you buy the target, and then everything works off of that same system. So you'd only basically need to buy like the top part if you wanted to change something. Like if you had a match on the weekend, you'd go to like a 2/3 just solid steel plate. You don't have to, and then you wouldn't have to be buying the rest of the shit that comes with it. You already have it in your arsenal. So it's like I said, it's cool, it's fun, and it's just a rich man's game right now.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, for somebody like me, like all the stuff that I have, I think I've bought silhouettes, but I mean, we also deal with our laser cutter who they deal with AR-500 all the time because they build sprockets for dirt bikes and shit. So it's like, we'll pick up what we can from them. They started cutting some silhouettes for us and whatnot, but it is, especially with the versatility in the market and like the tactical industry, where it's like you got guys like Haley Strategic that come in and they promote their shit, and it's like, all right, well, that guy was SOF, and it's like, well, how the fuck do I compete with that on a marketing scale? And that's one of the cool things that so we had through Russ, Steve Austin ended up buying a couple of our targets. Oh, did he?
Put them out at the ranch, and so it was neat because he posts this video and he's out there shooting, and he doesn't know. I've never met him before. We're sitting there watching the videos, and it's like, that's our fucking target. That's fucking cool, man. And Russ is like, one of these days, you just missed him. Always like But anyway, so just this week, last week we were doing, when I was getting Corey, my business partner Corey, he didn't want to come on the podcast, and it was like I wanted him to be the very first guest because it would have made the most sense, right? But he doesn't want to be in front of the camera, he doesn't want to be in front of a microphone, and so it took, that was in October, and it took until a couple of weeks ago to get him on the show, and then we ended up getting to super wasted. We went and had lunch at the JT.
No wonder he didn't want to be on the fucking show.
had lunch at the JT. Had a couple beers there. Went over to Minge and Meat. Started drinking beers there, and then Steve comes in.
Yeah.
But by then I was like, I can't drive. I can't really drink that much anymore. We got a show to do, and it's like I can't get any more drunk. And so I'm probably just gonna make an ass of myself if I try to go, hey, we're the fucking target guys, whatever. So I just opted out from talking to him.
So I've met Steve a couple of times, and he's like one of the most genuinely inquisitive people.
Yeah, that's
like
what
he doesn't want to talk about himself. He wants to know what you're into. So like, I mean, we talked all about custom homes and all this other shit, and he's just like pumped on it. And then so I met him at Dynamic UTV. I was going in to see Russ to go drop off a gun, and I was coming back out, met Steve, talked to him probably half an hour. Like, and dude's just full of questions and super down to earth. And I got a bunch of friends that know him too. And then I see him in Rayleigh's, and I was like, "Hey, Steve, how are you?" He's all, "Hey, how's that custom home thing going for you?" Like, he fucking remembered
That's
me,
cool,
and I was like,
man.
"Damn, dude!" Like, all the people you meet all the time, like, you're a down to earth.
It was neat because when we were at Min and Meat and he was sitting there, you know, the wives were like awestruck the entire time, and I'm like, just play it fucking cool, man. Just go say hi.
Stop making it weird.
Yeah, you're making it way worse than it is.
Just
right?
pull a titty out and walk
you'll
over
be
there.
fine. But he was sitting with Jim and Annalise Irwin, right?
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
so I've been, you know, so I don't know if you're familiar with ODM Defense, Jeff
Yeah,
Herbert. So Jim works out of Jeff's shop a lot, and Jim uses Thor targets. And I've been trying. I'm like, your targets are shit. You need to try these things out. Like, we can make them as dumb as you want them to be, to make them make sense for your company. But anyways, he was there, and so I ended up having a conversation with Jim, which ended up being
Jim's
better.
a cool dude. Too.
Yeah, great guy.
And his old lady's pretty rad.
Yeah. But the whole time, so they're sitting over there with Steve, and then Jim comes over, and I'm like, I made a comment because I met him ripped at Topaz once, right? So now we're best friends, especially because I'm always so he's walking by and I make some comment to him. And he comes back, he's like, "Hey man, sorry I had to piss." And so we started shooting the shit, and I'm like, "I'm Joel from First Line." And he goes, "All right." And I'm like, "The targets?" And he goes, "The ones with the stand?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, those are fucking." And we're right back in it, right? But anyways, I had him for way too long, so Annalise is over there, and I could see she's like, "Get my fucking husband over to the conversation." And I was like, "Okay." Then we get some drunk guy that comes over, and it was like, the timing sucked because it would have been, had we been there like a little bit sooner, and then Steve could have come in and Jim could have come in, it would have been like, he's got our targets, you want our targets, I make the targets, let's fucking do this. You know, it could have been like that, but it was not, unfortunately.
I mean, I wouldn't pay too much attention to the wasted effort. I mean, it's called seed planting. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's huge.
And I mean, don't piss the old ladies off in the process.
I know. Well, that was A1, man. That was the only thing that's not going to happen. Is oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Don't
What are
mind
you
if I
doing?
do.
We're only going to bartend so long for you, motherfucker.
Yeah. So that bottle come from our friend Sonny. That was a gift from Sonny.
Sonny's and
Who's
dude, I
she's
hope,
one of my favorite people.
dude, that chick is just the definition of
Yes, she is.
GSDMF. And dude, and she doesn't hold it like, oh, I gotta fucking prove the boys wrong. She's like, no, I'm just gonna do this to the best of my fucking ability.
That's
And
you
it's
know?
probably better. she's a monster, dude. Yeah, I love Sonny.
Yeah.
And but yeah, that's where that bottle came from.
Well, thank you, Sonny.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent choice.
I agree. She listens. She's been on here. She also listens. So
Dude, I
she
really
did.
think we need to get her back in because she sent us those really good guests, those younger kids,
Yeah.
to talk to. And I think Karina's out there doing a bunch of work for her too. And like, there's just like, I love this small town vibe of what we do. That even though we're only doing what I don't want to throw the numbers out there on what the listeners look like, but the amount of listeners we have, but the impact we have on the local community is, dude. I care more about that than any other fucking aspect of this podcast. I really do. And I think that the platform we've been able to give people that are local, like Phil and Sonny and Zach Doan.
We got to get Phil back on here.
We do. He's at the Hammers fucking on that flooded out lake bed right now. And I'm about to drop that Jeep off to him right after he gets back. So.
But he came on early.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, we were very premature in our podcasting. He came on early.
So how many you guys have? I mean, you've had, obviously you're talking about your brother, right? Has been on the show a couple times. Do you guys, I mean, because I want to do that. Because I think it would be neat to just see the difference from the original interview or the original cast to the second time when you're a little bit more your feet are a little bit more wet. And do you find that it's the interviews are
Who have we had on multiple times other than Matt?
Dude, I mean,
Derek Garrett.
oh
Hot
yeah,
Shot,
yeah.
and
and
Nick
Nick Pizzatis.
Pizzatis.
Dude,
That
I mean,
dude,
you want
man.
to,
That dude,
Yeah.
he blew my mind,
dude,
man.
you want to talk about two big swinging dicks in their industries, like.
Yeah, those guys are monsters,
Fuck,
man.
dude.
Jeez.
Dude, I wish I could do half the performance that fucking Garrett does.
Yeah.
If I could do half of what Garrett does, I'd be a happy fucking man, dude. And he's one of those guys that he just got it.
Yeah.
Like, he just understood it right out of the gate.
You know, the feedback that I got from both of our interviews with Derek is, especially clients, they would ask me, is he really a welder? Because he doesn't articulate himself like one.
Oh,
No.
dude, he was one of the
He's-
biggest swinging dicks in the pipeline industry. I mean, his fucking TIG game on, like, stainless and stuff. Yeah.
And he's very, very well spoken, and he knows his business. And we did those interviews about a year apart from their first to their second.
That's what I was going to say is, like, give it a year, dude. Like, don't rush it and bring him back in a month. Like,
No, yeah,
wait
but
a
do
year.
you feel like that? I mean, so you've already talked about things with these guests, right? And then do you still feel like there's a whole bunch to be with any interview, like a lot to be
yeah.
explored still, right? So it's
Still.
not like it would ever get stale.
So here's
a year later, right?
because we fuck with high performers. So
Okay, so
right, you guys do not
so
fuck around. I know.
that's what I love. Like, we've been doing this so long, we understand the same answers, because if you have the average John, there's not going to be a lot of change in a year.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have the opportunity to talk with some of the people that we do, a year is a decade
Right.
in an average John's life. So plenty to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of failure, plenty of success, plenty of evolution. 12 months, like I said, that's 10 years to a normal person. So, yeah, no problem
No
in
problem.
conversation.
It just goes, yeah.
It
Dude,
just goes.
to watch what Nick and Garrett have both done in a year, that dude, it makes me feel like such a fucking shitbag.
Oh, yeah. Bizatovs is like, oh, yeah, by the way, I have
I own
another
3
spider
spider
crane.
cranes.
By the way, I have a semi now
And a boom truck.
and a boom truck. And
A
we're doing
1970s
this.
boom truck that I restored on my own. But meanwhile, he's a single owner operator.
Mm-hmm.
And just big dick energy, you know? And it's like, you ask these guys how they do it, and they're just like, well, do what?
We just go.
We
yeah.
just do. Yeah.
That's cool, and that's I think that's one of the things too with the podcast is getting that feedback where I'm like, I could probably learn from, I could figure this out, and that's being constructive. Back to your point of being constructive and responsive to the critiques that you're getting and the information that's being put out to you.
Do you remember when somebody reached out to us? We were both going through our divorces at the same time, and it was a rough fucking time for both of us.
Oh no shit.
We had one listener reached out and was like, "Hey, I feel like you guys just kind of get on here and get drunk and bitch about shit." And we were both like, "Oh, fuck." And we both sat there and thought for a while. And we're like,
Yeah, we didn't take it lightly.
"Yeah." So we thought for a while, and we're like, "Dude, he's fucking right."
Kind of right.
You know?
And we were getting tuned up like every episode.
Yeah.
And
That's bourbon
Dude,
and ballistics right there. No, I'm just
We
kidding.
probably went for like 18 months without drinking on the podcast, or a year maybe
yeah,
without. I mean, we just stopped drinking on the podcast.
we
Yeah.
did. We
and that's for the best sometimes. Yeah.
Yep. And we were in a dark place, but you know what? Still, because that shit's out there, and I'll never take it down, and I'll never take it back. Because when you're going to podcast and you're on a mission, you get the truth in real time.
You do. Absolutely.
And the positions that we were in, mentally, physically, and in life, we never fucking canceled a show.
Mm-hmm.
We still fucking showed up every day.
On time.
And on time, on time.
The whole fucking time. Never missed a show. Never was late.
Shit, what kind of state am I in right now? God damn.
Yeah, no, it's
You know what? Fuck you.
This is great, and that's the thing is, and I think what's my point to all of that is, regardless of the quality of who they got in that moment in time on the microphone, it was still our fucking best.
100%.
And we showed up every time. But that proves the commitment that we have to this, and that we have to connecting with people and working to elevate the skilled trades and elevate people and doing what we're doing. And even in our deepest, darkest, worst fucking time in life, we fucking showed up every time in here, and we got on the mics and we give the best of who we were at that time.
I did. I mean, even just to spend 4 years doing this, and dude, there's been times where like I'm on my way up here, and I'm like, I don't have the mental capacity for this. I don't have the fucking time for this. Like, this ain't making me any fucking money. You know,
right?
Because we do
It's
this
the
for
worst
free.
business to be in, right?
It is, but
It is.
You know, but then we get done with that
Pile this shit. Right?
Yeah, but then we get done with the podcast, dude, and I'm on my drive home, and I'm like, dude, this is like therapy for me too.
I know.
You
That's
know?
it too.
And especially with the content that we create, that and I appreciate you, Josh, for the simple fact that you let me come in here, and there's days where I walk in and I just fucking vent for an hour, and you're like, hey, we're going to talk about this today, by the way. And so it's something that's raw, relevant, and in the moment, and it seems to resonate with people, you know, because I am fucking human, and I am trying to start a business from being a fucking tool monkey, and there are people that do it so much better than me, but I'm the representative of the common man, right? Like, this is the shit that goes on when you're just trying to figure it out, make it work. And Josh, fortunately for us, you know, has been there to be a guiding light for us the whole way. And fuck, dude, there's so many days where that becomes so prevalent that I'm like, this is why I show up every week. You know, like this is church for me almost, you know?
Right.
And I thoroughly appreciate that. I really do.
Man, no, that means a lot. It means a lot. Him and I were talking about it when we were waiting on you to get here.
I feel like I'm not ever going to live this down. Like one fucking time in my life.
I hope not. This is going to be episode like 250 or something, and you're never living this down. No, I've told this story just a few times, and I was telling it to Joel. I said, you know, when I had the conception of the podcast in my mind, and was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And one thing that Nate does is as I explained it to you, Joel, I'm strategy, Nate's tactics. And Nate brings a great dynamic to our conversation, because I'm well aware, and probably more aware recently, thank you to the beautiful goddess that I have in my life, Katie, reminds me how black and white I am about things. And it, you know, when Nate invited himself to be a part of the show,
thank goodness, yeah.
Tell me no, Josh. Tell me no.
You know, I realize like the energetic dynamic and the real-time authenticity that he brings in being in business with my brother and the things that we get to experience. I'm not that entertaining because shut your mouth. And here's why. Is because I actually get excited about the boring strategies of success. And that's what I love to talk about. And that is like silent film porn. You know?
Hold on. This is how I'm going to describe you from now on. It's like Josh's silent film porn.
He's pretty much silent porn.
That just came to mind, by the way. It just came to mind.
I don't think you for somehow just described yourself perfectly.
Silent film porn.
Yeah. And it's like you put a couple drinks in him, and all of a sudden it's in color. It's still silent, but it's in
silent.
color.
Yeah, there's no sound. You're not wondering what they're thinking.
You know what they're doing.
Oh God. But no, it's.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh man, but that's but like that's how psychotic I am about this shit. It's like that's the stuff that I enjoy.
That's why this works so good.
That's exactly why.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, that's exactly why. And this show would have been canceled years ago, you know, if we hadn't had this. And you know, it's interesting too, because you know when we flip the mics on, like we're on, but people also don't understand what it fucking takes to get to that record button. And you know, podcasting is fun, but it's difficult. You were talking about it. The hours upon hours that you spend editing. the time, and I remember, I told him, I said, I haven't touched an edit in at least 100 episodes now. And I'm proud of that for the rhythm and the cadence that we've built. But it's like business. It's like everything else. You just have to commit and go. All right, I'm going to figure out what this takes along the way.
Let me ask you this: do you listen to your episodes every week?
I asked him the same thing.
I do, and when I told him,
isn't it so fucking cringy?
I'm like, shut up, man. Everything it's so the first time I go all the way through the episode because I'm like, how did we do? Is this even worth editing, right? And then most of the time the answer has always been yes. It's like it's not necessarily about what I'm doing, but what's being said on the other side of the table. So the second time I go through and I go, I hit, that's a good point. I just kind of mark the points, and then that's what I want to use for. Definitely not enough, I guess, shorts, but shit. But the point is trying to like just encapsulate some of the cool key moments from the film. So I listened to it a couple times. And what I was telling Josh is I sit after the episode, it's bedtime, it's TV time. The wife watches some fucking show, and then I sit there and just watch me and my guest for 3 fucking hours twice, right? So 3 hours later, and I'm like, okay, we got something, And so there's options to learn. There's the ability to learn from that, and I think that's kind of maybe where you're leading into.
Yeah, well, because I fucking forget who it was, but somebody came up to my truck, my window was down, and I was listening to the podcast. It was on a Monday morning because I was listening on Monday morning just to like, hey, you're back at work, motherfucker. Like, let's go, let's figure it out. And
it's a Monday ritual.
It is. Sure. I mean, that's on my drive to work in the morning. I mean, even when I'm not on there, I listen to it religiously. I listen to all the GSDs. I listen to I listen to everything because I mean, this has become a part of my brand of who I am.
Right. Yeah.
And there's times where I had somebody walk up to the truck like, "Are you listening to yourself?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Okay." I'm like, walked away, and I'm like. They won't ever understand. Mm-mm. I'm not doing this to suck my own dick. I'm doing this for research. Yeah. Like, okay, what actually sounds good here? And I don't listen to it like it's me on the microphone. I listen to it like it's a podcast that I'd be listening to. Mm-hmm. Like, is this good?
Right.
Dude, and the fucking dumbest thing is like when we first started this, that we launched that first episode, I was like, dude, nailed it.
We're so good at this.
We're going to be superstars, man. There's no way.
Joe Rogan, 6 months.
Yeah,
watch
dude,
out, buddy.
That's exactly how it goes, too. Yeah.
But then it's like the more the years have gone on and the more that I've listened to it, it's like, I don't give a fuck about, is this going to attract listeners? Is this going to do this or that? Did we drive the message home?
Yeah.
And was the message there? Mm-hmm. And was the message palpable? Palpable?
Palpable.
Palpable.
And I don't know how to spell it, but that's how you say it.
But because I want to, I mean, Josh and I are the same way. We want to make it better every week. We want to provide more for the listeners. We want to make sure that what we're doing here isn't a fucking waste of time.
Sure.
And that's the easiest way to figure out if you're doing that or not. And it does seem arrogant. It does seem douchey, but it's like, if I don't fucking watch film from a football game on Friday, if I don't watch it on Saturday, how the fuck did I know if I did my job or not?
If you can't sit there, and if you're looking at like a full episode where you have over an hour worth of footage, and you can't sit through the fucking thing, there's no absolute way in hell that anybody else that's subscribing or looking to subscribe is going to watch that shit. Mm-hmm. And that's the hardest part too. Is and one of the things that I really wanted to talk about is how hard figuring out what that looks like is. I mean, you think you have the algorithm beat. You think you're going to go find those new listeners and stuff, and then you have this thing that just supersedes anything over performs on anything else you've ever done, right? Mm-hmm. And you're going to chase that. It's like a high, and you want to keep doing that, whatever that short or that that full feature was. It's like do that exact same format, and then the platforms go, no, that's not it. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the right thing. We were talking about earlier that you have a reel that does almost 3,000, 4,000 views, right? What did I do? How did I get that there? Mm-hmm. And you go do the same fucking thing, and it is like a couple dozen at best, right? And it's like, what the hell was the difference? I was telling a story
Because you did the same thing.
Well, and so it's, if you're trying to go out there and just chase clout, that is where you're going to go. So I watched this one video, and I can't remember who the dude was, but that's what he said. You're going to find this thing, and it's going to eat you alive if you let it. You're going to go out there, you're going to see that reel that performed, got you all these subscribers, and you're going to keep trying to do that same thing, but nobody fucking wants it, right? And so figuring out what that looks like is just, racking your brain, right? And trying to figure out what that does.
I think you have shared the listener count with me maybe 4 times since we've started this podcast.
That's important.
You showed me when we hit 10,000 downloads. You showed me when we hit 100,000 downloads. And then you showed me our best week that we've ever had. I was like, oh, cool, right on. They just showed up and we kept doing the same fucking thing because it's not about that.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
It's about the message. It's about what it is that you're trying to provide. And dude, if you get caught up in the fucking metrics of what people like, fuck people.
Right. When you guys were, and this is when you guys were doing the 75 hard. And I don't know if you guys still do it every year, right? But
Nope. I fucking should though.
I had told my wife I was going to do it this year, and she's like, it's almost fucking February. Where was that New Year's resolution?
Yeah.
And but when you guys were doing that, and you had made a mention, a comment of, people are fucking talking about they're sick of hearing about 75 hard, and it's like, fuck you, motherfuckers! It's part of the show. I mean, it's you guys.
Yeah.
It's your show.
Yep.
You do what you want. If you don't like it, fucking skip. It's like it's not hurting feelings, right?
That's right.
You have a bunch of inorganic assholes listening to your show that have the critique, and that's prevalent on I like Sean Whalen. He kind of builds. I don't know the family, and he's not afraid to just fuck you. I don't need you. Fuck you. I'll be fine. And that's what I like about Sean Whalen. But I have a buddy up in Reno, Troy Fontana. Grew up with him playing Pop Warner, and he's like a motivational speaker, and he's a lot different as far as the light. Like he's more he's like uplifting and more of a motivational type guy, and he's a super good dude. And so if you haven't checked him out, he's like, I would love to have him on my show just because he's a quarterback all through my Pop Warner years. And he ends up going and just fills these stadiums with people and motivates them to do stuff. So I love listening to his stuff because it's just really uplifting. Like, you can do this. And I'm like, thanks, man. I needed that, And anyways, but you pick apart these podcasts and they're all telling you the same thing. It's like, here's the message. And as politely as I can, fuck yourself if you don't like it. There's plenty of other ones out there. Like there's a billion other, bourbon podcasts out there. You don't have to listen to mine. I wish you would, but you don't have to if you don't like the shit we're talking about. So, but like I said, you guys are nailing the formula. Like I said, the dynamic between the two of you is always, for as little as I've listened to, has been super fun and entertaining. And I haven't had to turn one off unless I had to do something where I couldn't listen to one.
Oh, dude, I've turned so many of them off. I'm like, what the fuck were we, Josh? Edit this shit, will you?
Cut it out.
No, there's times I listen to it and I have 2 thoughts. The first one is immediately that goes into the kind of the reserve state, the conservative state, the protective state. It's like, God, I should have cut that out. Mm-hmm. The second thought I have immediately following that is, no, fuck that. That's authentic. Mm-hmm. That's real. That is who we are. In that moment, when we sit down and do this, that's who we are. Mm-hmm. And that's the version of us that you get.
Dude, think about how popular, let's say, who were those fucking douchebag brothers? Jake Paul. Oh, them fucking idiots.
Is it Logan? Jake?
I don't
Logan
fucking
Paul?
know. Yeah. But these dudes have this like high grossing fucking thing, and I think about the amount of people that listen to that, because I listened to like 2 episodes, and I'm like, this is the most watered down.
They have a podcast.
Yeah, and they have this most watered down attempt at being intellectuals or people of worth or anything like that. And I listened to it, and I'm
as
just like,
you said intellectuals, I started laughing. I'm sorry.
Not a chance.
Dude, and they get to attract these guests because they're fucking YouTube stars and whatever. And I'm just like, dude, thank fucking God we're not that. I would much rather have a far, far, far smaller audience of people that appreciate what the content is and actually like listening to this than it just being some like fucking People magazine episode. Mm-hmm. You know, where it's just like drama and fucking blah, blah, blah. And this person's doing this. Like, who fucking cares? Who gives a flying fuck what these people are doing?
When people ask me like, oh, how many downloads you guys get a week or whatever, I always tell them, I said, one thing I can tell you is the quality of people that listen to us.
Nate and I listen to it every week. I know that much.
Two.
Our best fans. Yeah, that's how I am too, man. All those views, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like I immediately am like, the numbers don't matter. The quality to me that matters.
I 100% agree. Yeah.
And our listeners are fucking monsters.
Yeah.
Dude, there's sometimes where like somebody just finds an episode that resonates with them and they just fucking put our shit up on their Instagram stories or whatever. And I'm like, dude, that to me, because I know that it's a welder.
Oh God.
I know that it struck a chord with that guy that day. And it's like,
yeah,
that fuck yeah. Like that fucking matters to me. Like I give a flying fuck about that. I really do.
Why did you decide to do a podcast?
It was more of a result of a self-evaluation, really. I was I've always felt like I can do better. There's always something, finding a niche has never been my thing. Like I don't really have a thing, so it's go hone in on the skills that you kind of suck at, right? Maybe that was just because you never developed it. And so, sitting up in front of a class or in front of a room or whatever. I was a saxophone player in elementary school and fucking passed out in front of this because it's like I just couldn't deal with that many people staring at me, And so it was. It's always been just a fear that I've had, right? So I go, fuck that, jump in the fire, let's fucking go. Get out there. First line really helped because it's if we don't use me, we don't have content. So it helped me get in front of people a little bit. But you know what? The idea is go get something that maybe you're not comfortable talking about. Like, I don't know what we're going to talk about when the person comes over because I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. It's, it's an opportunity for me to learn, to listen, and then hopefully grow from it. So that was the key. Really just to develop my listening skills, speech skills, and kind of go from there.
Why are you laughing, Nate?
This is my listening skills, and that I remember the first couple of
thank you.
Yeah, the first couple of guests we had that we interviewed. I have severe ADHD, and silence is like a fucking death threat to me, and I can't fucking stand it. And like I felt so bad because I went back and listened to the Zach Down episode, and I'm like, oh, I ruined that. Because I couldn't shut the fuck up. Mm-hmm. And like my interviewing skills, dude, have gotten so much better over the years.
Thank you. Thank God for that. But yes, that Zach Doan interview was painful to sit through with you.
It was painful for me to sit through it, dude.
I was telling Josh before we started that before the podcast, I started taking interviews on jobs that I knew I couldn't get just because it brought that heat, like the attention of like, you need to try to prove yourself.
That's smart.
Yeah. So it was like, I knew I wasn't going to get the job. I'm fortunate enough to
going for like astrophysicist or astronaut.
Maybe, yeah. I own a department, right? It's like, you've never done anything like that, right? I applied for.
What happens if you get it?
Dude, scary. I applied for a county or a planning commission seat in Douglas County. And I get up there and I'm like, I don't know shit about planning. I have no idea. So I get up there and it's a open meeting. So there's like 300 fucking Douglas County residents sitting there with me, and they start asking me questions about zoning and all this shit that I have no idea about. And it's like, born and raised here, motherfuckers. And like that was my smoking gun.
Dude,
it was like,
the best part is if you get that job and then you get in there and you just like fuck it up because that's what you're gonna do. You'd be like, well, hey, you fucking idiots hired me.
Dude,
so
you heard
okay.
what I did. Yeah, I said no on almost every question you asked me.
I said fuck like 4 times in a county
Not good.
City council.
The lady
meeting.
passed out. Wasn't cool, man. But yet here I am. So you know what? You fucking did it to yourself.
You did it to yourself.
I'm running this
I was
bitch.
the best option you had.
Yeah. There was no worse than me. And so at that point, you kind of go, you know what? You're hoping you got a good team. because somebody's gonna have to carry you through this thing, you know.
So, like, you're going to appoint your own. It's like,
Right.
I have nothing but alcoholic friends. I don't know what to tell
This
you.
is not the best group for me. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So that was that kind of kicked it off. I think that was in 2018 when I applied for that position and was like deathly afraid because I'd never done anything like that before. You know, sitting in front of a bunch of people I didn't know.
What is your work history?
So really spotty. You know, just trying to find my niche like forever. I guess I was a manager at the movie theater. You guys probably don't remember, but the
What do you
Meadowdale.
mean you guess?
Kind of a manager, not a really good one. I had the title, you know. Anyways, the Meadowdale was the old movie theater over by Russ. Now it's next to what used to be Ham Dogs.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
You
I
were
was just saying that.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That was my first job.
Yeah. It was no stadium seating. It was a flat level theater.
Two of the three.
Two of the three. Okay.
To me, that is weird because we went to dinner last night. Me, you, and Matt.
Girl Next Door.
At
Which
Girl Next Door.
formerly
Which- yeah, right.
Ham Dogs.
Ham Dogs, and that
was the
got
food.
brought up in
That got brought up,
conversation.
yeah.
So the fact that you were the manager,
Yeah.
that's weird.
Yeah, so that's like a really shitty job, but that was like all through high school, right? So like I didn't really have any ambition to do any better at that point. I was just kind of fucking off life at that point. So ended up landing a bunch of sales jobs, which I was terrible at because I couldn't talk to people, I couldn't approach people. But I mean, it was some telemarketing and some door-to-door sales. Yeah,
Dude, I kind of want to stab you right now.
dude, we could have an entire episode about the company I worked for. It was it's supposed to be a nonprofit organization, so I thought I was raising money for fucking injured firefighters and police people, policemen and their families. I was not. I was not doing that at all. Right?
It's 1.2 cents per $100
And
goes
it
towards
was,
this
and
cause.
and so this was I ended up just moving down to Southern California for a little bit, and I wanted to surf, and so this job was cool because I only worked from like 5 to 7 or something like that.
You look like you're built for surfing.
Dude, it used to be. Not
I
no
feel
more.
you, brother.
I can barely walk without getting out of breath anymore. But I just used to surf and then just go to this job in the afternoons when I get done surfing. So it was super. I didn't care if I did good, and I was doing well enough just to have them not fire me. You know. So, anyways, it was cool because I ended up telemarketing. What it ended up being was telemarketing.
There is a conversation. I have so many questions.
It was fucked, and like I said, I could keep you guys for another couple hours, and I don't mean to, and next time maybe, but the job was fucked, and once I found out how fucked it was, I could not do the job anymore, right? So I basically gave up California, living down there and surfing, for what I thought, just doing the right thing, and so I come home and ended up landing a deal at a magazine as a dealership magazine as ad sales, which I sucked at, So it's like I've been doing sales since my 20s, but just fucking sucked, man. Just not my thing, talking to people. So
you don't look like you fit any of these roles so
man.
far.
That
So
was before
I'm
the
assuming you look a little different than you did
dude,
while
I'm
you're
just
doing that.
I'm just fat and bearded, man. No, I just
Dude, do you ever get that thing where somebody comes up to you and they're like, I think I know you? And I'm like, big bearded dude, we're a dime a dozen,
they're every one of us.
We all look the same.
Yes.
Do you know how often people get Matt and I confused?
I
And
bet.
I'm like, dude, Matt has the physique of a Greek god. Like the
Right.
dude's,
Yeah.
Is that how it goes?
I'm stronger than he is, but
Oh, here it is. Here it is.
but dude, Matt's 6'1",
Yeah.
6'1", and Matt's fucking 230,
235. Yeah.
and he's just a big
He's
fucking
so fucking
all shoulders,
dense.
big dude.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, no, I talked to you the other day. I'm like, did you talk to the dude with the red beard? They're like, oh, I think I did. I'm like,
Yeah.
Not the same dude.
not the same. I'm 5'11". I'm sorry, I'm 5'12".
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 5'11" and a half, whatever.
3/4.
Yeah. But that is kind of funny though, and I think that speaks volumes to something right there, that you had this lifestyle that you liked as far as being able to go surfing and enjoy yourself, but you had no sense of purpose within the job that you did.
100%.
And dude, like that, the velocity in which that drives people away from certain things.
So not only the lack of sense of purpose, but it misaligned with your core values.
It did 100%. That's exactly right.
And that's powerful. Like that's motivation to change right there when those two things, what you said, Nate, which I like, and then the misalignment. Like that forces you to do some shit different.
If nothing else, I may be an asshole driver. Like I get really bad road rage, but I do have the understanding of everybody else's best interest. Like that's one thing. Like I have a lot of friends that would give their shirt off the back to me, but they'd also fuck the person sitting next to me that they didn't know to do it. And that hurts. Like I don't operate like that. You know, I'll do things for people that I don't know because it's the right thing to do. And so when I got in that situation with that company and found out what it was that I was doing, I was like, fuck this. And I gave up. Like I said, my life's it went out of control after that. You know, it was a bad time for me, but stronger for it. You know, and that like those tough times are what build the strong men. You know, and that's what I came out of there a lot better than I started. You know, so yeah, it sucked. I didn't like that at all. But didn't. God, I don't even, like I said, it would be a whole show. It was so fucked up.
I have many questions that we can make an episode out of.
Yeah.
Especially related to the telemarketing and stuff. So lots of questions.
Like I said, I thought I was doing a good thing, man. I was just helping out those families, you know, but I was the guy pulls up and the owner pulls up in his fucking Ferrari from his 17 beach fucking houses, right? It's just a Cliff Notes type version, right? And because I was getting fired and escorted out by the fucking Carlsbad Police Department for disclosing information that I'd signed an NDA for.
Always show up in a Ferrari to fire people. That's the only legitimate way to do it.
I know. Big dick shit, man.
You know you're really getting
with
fired.
cops in tow, man. Yeah. You know, it's like, okay, well, this is the real deal. So you need to get out of here, sir. I'm like, okay.
Also, you violate an NDA half of the time. Yeah. They're not going to litigate. They're just like, get out of here.
Well, no, not those guys. I'm like, I had a pot to piss, and it's like me and 6 people living in a 1-bedroom apartment, you know, to make ends meet. So it's like, come and get me. Fuck you, you know. Anyways, yeah, story for another time. But,
go ahead, sue me for my debt, you fuck.
Good. You can have the, you know, because I ended up after I quit there, it was like, I had to live off my credit cards. That's all I had. I could not find a fucking job down there, you know. And so it was until they all capped out, until they all were maxed out, and it was like, go back to Nevada, man. That's where you belong. And that's the first thing I learned is like, fuck California, because I can't. I ain't fucking doing it, man. Yeah. And ever since then, maybe it's more of like the vendetta I have against California.
So? Were you born and raised here in Nevada? Mm-hmm. So was I. I spent maybe 8-9 years in California, and yeah, dude, like you get over there, like, oh, like look at this, all this opportunity. There's you know, like all this stuff to do, and you can find these cool jobs, and then you really start getting into the people. You start getting into the taxes and all that kind of stuff, and
it's no wonder people are bailing out of there so bad and coming here. I mean, dude, it's like I get it. You know,
I went from the Bay Area because we did that Hetchetchy system, and we got done with that, and we went to Canada right after that. And my boss gave me the option. He's like, you can either go back to the Bay Area or you can go back to Nevada and still work in the Bay Area. I was like, I'm going back to Nevada. Still worked in the Bay Area. And then that was a big driving factor as to why Matt and I started the company. That's a big reason why we were just like ready to fucking go, you know?
Yep.
Dude, just the fucking traffic aspect of it. I don't know how people spend their fucking lives doing that shit, man.
So I've never been to the Bay Area. And I was talking to Abby today at the work.
No. Dude, go check it out. There's really cool parts of it, but I'll also show you the really fucked up parts of it too.
Yeah, I've never been. I mean, I come from Illinois, which is like California's retarded little brother. Like they're just like, I want to be like you, and they're just fucking up all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
it's just really windy here.
Yeah,
it's terrible. It's terrible. It's Charles Barkley. It's terrible. No. Last question that I have is not last question. First, how old are you?
40, almost 43 next month.
I don't know why you had to think about that. That was weird.
I'm fucking getting old, man. I don't remember. Alzheimer's.
So you're 40 what?
2.
Okay. So
you're just excited that you're not the oldest person at this table.
I'm an old son of a bitch.
Yeah, he's got me barely. That's great. Oh man, I'm used to being like father time every time.
I know.
Every time I fucking talk to somebody.
Imagine being in those little WNC class with all the little kids
Do you
staring
use
at you.
fucking just for men or what? You don't have a single fucking gray hair.
Well, I get some. They're just not here right now. They just fall off. I don't know. Fucking hairs fall. I don't.
Shut
I'm
the
getting old,
fuck
man.
up. Shut
Getting
the
old.
fuck
Fall off. The gray falls
off.
off. It just
I'm-
sheds
I
off
shit
of
you
me.
not, man. I don't even fucking touch it.
Sheds
'cause
off of me like my youth.
I'm just getting old. Fucking hair is falling. That's all that's happening.
So, and how long have you had Straight Line? Or, well, I'm sorry, not
First Line.
First Line, thank you.
Started.
First Line.
We launched it in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my leading up to my final question is since you started the business, what's been the greatest lesson that you have learned?
That is a good question. I think probably one of the biggest takeaways from the company is being fluid, adaptive. I mean, the dynamic of our audience is constantly changing. The market is constantly changing. So if I would to be set in my ways, we would not sell a single thing, right? And with that, we have to adapt to the customer's needs, which, I mean, it's targets. I mean, they're still targets, right? There's not a lot we can do, and there's not a lot of pennies we can shave. So it's figuring out how to approach people and engage them and make them understand that what they're buying is different than what they could go find for half the price or less, right? That's one of the biggest things.
Yeah, cool. I like it. Being adaptive. Use the word fluid. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you said, it's if it's all about the money, you're not doing your job, right?
Right.
If it's all about the money, that means all you care about is about the money. It's not about the value. It's not about what you're bringing to the
I
table.
want to see what I mean. My biggest thing is seeing those people out there using them, getting that feedback. Like I was at the Douglas Canyon Rodeo. Mm-hmm. Some dude, I mean, he hailed me from like across the fucking bleachers, and he's like, "Joel Potter," and I was like, "Yes." He's like, "You're first time like we were talking about like when somebody points you, it's not the same thing, but it was like because I'm like right here, right? I wasn't all the way back, back east.
I was telling him about our experience
Super good story,
at
too. That was
the FabTech at the AWS convention.
Oh yeah.
When we walked in, they're like, "Tradesman experience." And I was like, "It's not a welding podcast."
So it was kind of like that, but like on a much smaller.
Probably should have held
scale.
that under your breath, considering where you were in the lion's den. The American Welding Society puts on a dinner, and you're like, "Not a welding podcast."
Fuck you all.
You.
You listen to my shit, you pieces of shit.
I just lost 1,000 listeners a week.
But yeah, it's important to understand your reach and understand your position and your strengths, and so the company itself, I mean, like I said, we have a platform that I'm absolutely 100% in love with. I'm the biggest cheerleader for, but it's a matter of dollars and cents, and so for a lot of people, it's not the right option for them. So how do you differentiate what that means to the common person, right? So it's been neat. It's a growing experience, and I've always been super excited to be there, and I keep telling my business partner, I'm like, we are not quitting because this thing is fucking awesome. So anyways, it's been cool. And like I said, it's not about the money. It's about the experiences. And the when people do get them in their hands, the feedback, I'm like, I fucking told you. I told you it's gonna be worth the money. I told you.
I got one last question.
Yep.
How do your targets hold up to 338 Lapua and BMG 500 at 500 yards?
They won't.
No? At
500
yards?
500 maybe. So I don't have I wouldn't have the chart in front of me, but so it's a 3/8 inch, 500 maybe. So with
Lower velocity on the
once
on the
you, when
500.
you slow it down a little bit and you get the distance, it would probably be fine. We don't ever
that
get a chance.
338
To
is
I'm
a
only
murderer.
asking because we have Josh and his fucking brother that both have long range weapon systems that have yet to be fired. And we need to go.
Yeah.
And let's
We were talking about
maybe we
that.
try it out. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean
We could do a little R&D.
We take
I like that
the
idea.
industry standards.
Gladly.
We take the industry standards and then we kind of base our experiences off of that. So we have, every target company in the industry is like, this is what you should do for this, and like different, different caliber and stuff. And so we've kind of adapted that, but we don't have a lot of feedback. Like I said, it's mostly transitional stuff, like coast range stuff with ARs and AKs, and it doesn't like, really close green tip. I know that because that's not fun for anybody. But
the whole point of a green tip is it's a steel penetrator.
I know, and it does. It does a really good job.
It craters it. It doesn't go through it. It's a fucking 5.56. It's a 55 grain. And
you get the email, and it's like, hey, I blew through my thing, and I'm like, yeah, it does that. That's exactly what that's supposed to do, right? Yeah. So it's we try hard to ensure, because our steel, we try our best to ensure that we're the quality of the steel we're buying is not some Chinese freighted in bullshit.
At least get Korean.
Right. And so we're working with Burns. And
good.
Yeah,
DJ.
Yeah. So we were talking about that.
He's been on the podcast. Yeah. Great fucking dude.
Yeah, great guy.
Yeah. So anyway, with that, it's like we have standards. And because it's what it's being used for. With anybody, I guess, with any product, but you're like, please don't give me shit. And if we have to pay a little bit more, let's pay for a little bit more. Like if it has to be,
If you look at the weapons companies that Burns deals with and the stuff that they build for them, you're in the exact right place you need to be to provide a high quality product.
Yeah. And they've been
Franklin
they've been pretty
Armory's in
good.
there. Fuck, yeah.
Yeah. And we just recently transferred over from our previous vendor for steel to them. So we don't have a lot of, we've only put a sheet or so through them, but they've been good. The problem that I have with them is only the fact that our entire existence is based on like immediate results. Like we need to know current pricing and what it's going to cost us for these cuts and stuff. And they're not as well versed in like, it's like all via email. So we're getting quotes back and we're shooting the ship, and meanwhile, 5 days, 6 days goes by and we're still waiting to build targets. So, but they've been great. Honestly, everything else besides that, like, and they're only a couple streets over from us. We literally could just go down and talk to them, and that's on us. So I'm not even faulting them for that.
Yeah, dude, just go in there and talk to DJ.
Yeah.
Literally sit down and talk to them. He's one of the most like genuine people that I've ever met. And
yeah.
And he's got such a cool backstory too, and that.
And I'll tell you, you've been on here, you're on here, he's been on here. You already share a like-mindedness. Mm-hmm. Just go have a conversation.
Well, and when we went in there the first time, I think I met him, or we talked about him at least. Bare minimum, we talked about him because I know he was into firearms.
Oh, dude, there isn't a person in Burns that isn't into
guns.
Right.
Yeah. So Alicia, I went to school with. Burns' daughter. Okay. And so when they were doing KUKA sprockets and cranks and stuff, and that's how
that was dirt tricks.
Yeah, that was dirt tricks. Yeah. So, anyways, they've been around forever, and there's no doubt in my mind that they have our best interest in mind because they're doing so well in customer service. So
yeah,
it's just us getting on the same wavelength and same stride as them. So
yeah, that takes time.
Yeah, yeah, right,
for sure.
Yep.
Well, there's one. We've got to talk to Troy.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Because the four of us are going to do a podcast
I think
together.
the four of us sitting down with Troy would be fantastic, and I think that'd be a good bleed over episode where we both launch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Two. It sounds like we have some fun opportunity for R&D.
Mm-hmm. If you guys get guns, I would love you
guys
to come
dude,
out
I got fucking SBRs. I got dude, even 17s at close range. Dude, those things are fucking rippers,
17
dude.
HMR.
Oh, and I have I've got nods now. So
nice.
Yeah.
Christmas present for yourself.
Yep. I have a 17 HMR, and you can shoot a fly at 50 yards.
Oh, dude, we were hitting a paint a rattle can at 400 yards of that thing.
Oh man, they're sweet little rifles. And he's right. I have yet to shoot my 50 cal.
Queer.
I know. Weird. I haven't heard that term in so long.
That's what the Q in LGBTQ means.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I don't think it's a hot term anymore. No. I don't think that's going to get us canceled. You could be binary for all I care.
Right.
Oh, God. And my third point is we have to do this again.
Yes. this has been fun.
Yeah, don't expect to come back for a year though. We
I know,
were talking
that's
about
fine.
this.
Yeah, no, I get it. What I was thinking is maybe we could just have you guys come on to my show.
There
we
we
could
go.
kind of just pick this back up, and then it's not like you guys are getting inundated in your listeners with me again. Now you guys get to bleed over into to my market.
Well, with those 3 points, I want to close with telling you why I invited you to come on.
Oh, this is gonna get sappy.
No, it's not. No,
I'm kidding.
no. One is social media. I'm pretty in tune with new followers or messages or stuff like that, and I start seeing social media. So I clicked on and I realized you were close. So one of the reasons was I really trusted my intuition. I started investigating some of your stuff, listening to your show, and I trusted my intuition and was like, this will be a fun conversation.
It was.
And
Agreed.
And so I thought, okay, I want to have this guy on. The other reason is we remember what it was like launching a podcast. And I remember personally getting into it and just thinking that, maybe somebody will invite us on and help, build your audience and help build our audience. And that was really, and I remember thinking that and seeing you and knowing that you were close and we could have this in person and we could do it over a bottle of bourbon. I was like, man, I want to give back to this guy. I trusted my gut feeling. I trusted my intuition. I knew it was going to be a fun conversation. And I really wanted us to take the opportunity to use the platform that we've built going into our 5th season to introduce you and hopefully we're able to elevate you.
Thank you.
And that was really one of the things that I wanted to do.
Best I can offer some whiskey. we got a few loyal followers, but like I said, I appreciate you guys having me.
No, but
that's
the
fun.
thing is that sure, the invitation's there, but you got to show up and perform, and I think you did. And I think the conversation was genuine. It was, and that's what we look for, authenticity, right? So we appreciate you being here, man. And you're gonna do fine.
Thank you.
You're gonna do fine. Just figure your fucking audio out though, because I'll tell you right, dude. Even listening to like Ed Milet, he's worth what, $300 million.
Half a billion.
$500 million. I can't figure out fucking audio on his podcast.
Well, that is tough. I mean, I've learned a couple things coming in here. So it's like, I went out and got the Amazon kit for my show because I just needed a jump off point.
Yeah.
So
you started.
been a
You
struggle.
started.
Yeah. And so that's the thing. You're 100% correct. As things progress, I'll bump up my game.
Well, we're here to help you, guide you, elevate you any way that we can.
No, we'll probably fuck it all up for you. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
it's possible.
We'll take it, really. You guys have been awesome.
We will tell you everything not to do. No, man, I've thoroughly enjoyed this. So as we close out here, where can people find out more about you and your company?
We can go to all the social media platforms at First Line Ballistics. We're on Spotify for Bourbon and Ballistics. And YouTube, Bourbon and Ballistics podcast. Like I said, there's a lot of crossover because it's meant as a marketing tool for the company just to try to beat the algorithm. However, the podcast is developed into more of a social aspect. So, that's probably the best bet at this point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, guys, go check them out on all of the platforms. You can find Nate on Instagram at NateNewton87. I am on Instagram at The Tradesman Experience. Email is thetradesmanexperience@gmail.com. Website's thetradesmanexperience.com. And the YouTube channel is The Tradesman Experience. Thank you so much for spending this time with us. Get out there, get shit done. Be proud to be a tradesman. See ya.